Well,
Yeah.
I started in '07. Everybody's crashing and burning and going down. Well, I got nowhere to go but up. And I'm like,
Right.
what are you all talking about? This is great. You know,
Yeah.
my sales are going up and you guys are going down. I must be doing something magical. But I took all of my Disney strategies and tactics, I put them inside of a carpet cleaning business. And really, if I can Disneyfy a carpet cleaning business, there isn't one out there that I can't.
Welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. I'm your host, LaMont Leavitt. In a world overflowing with noise, confusion, and distraction, we're here to cut through the clutter and explore bold, unique paths to a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. Through candid conversations with business leaders, wellness experts, industry pioneers, and innovators, we'll uncover insights to help you discover your own personalized, unique approach to thriving. Tune in, trust the compass of wisdom within, and find your fountain of vitality. Hello, this is LaMont Leavitt, and welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. We're thrilled to have with us Vance Morris. He is the founder of his company, and love to hear from him and how he keeps customers. Vance, thank you so much for joining us today.
I appreciate it, Lamont. Hopefully we'll drop a few gold nuggets for everybody today.
Beautiful. Hey, I've always learned, and over time, that it's so much easier to keep a customer than to go out and find a new one. I love your edict where you say, "Don't spend all your time chasing strangers."
Yeah, it's, and it's cheaper. I mean, the cost to acquire a customer is ridiculous, and the cost to keep a customer is like pennies on the dollar. Real quick example. So I own some businesses here in Maryland, and for our carpet cleaning business, cost me $136 to get a new customer in the front door. That's, Google ads, guy answering the phone, all of that stuff added up. It only cost me $23 a year to keep a customer. So the minute we serve an existing customer, we're already $100 plus more profitable. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to stay busy and go broke, keep getting new customers. But if you want to be busy and with profitability and some growth, focus on the customer retention.
I'd love to hear a story or two about what simple things in your formula help really keep a customer. What are those little things that are just so obvious that we tend to overlook?
Well, first and foremost, you got to deliver a great experience. So if you don't do that, you don't really have a prayer of retaining anybody. But let's consider, or take for granted that you are providing a great experience. What you have to remember is it is not your customer's job to remember you. It's your job to remind the customer that you exist. So you need an existence system. One of my favorite things is a newsletter. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, email newsletters, they suck. They don't, and they do. You want to do a print newsletter. Good old U.S. Postal Service. Last time I checked, they still have a 99% deliverability rate. So we want to get something in the mail. Mailboxes are empty these days. I don't know about you.
That's true. That's true.
Yesterday I had a credit card offer and a catalog. And that was about it. So your competition's not there, so you might as well be. And one of the things, like I said, is the newsletter, and it's designed as Reader's Digest light. Okay. Whatever you do, don't talk about your widget or your thing. I don't talk about new Succomatic 3000 that'll get all the dust bunnies out. I mean, nobody cares about that stuff.
Yeah.
I like to be entertained, right? So one of the features in my newsletter that I always use is stupid criminal stories. Don't ask me why, but people love them.
Really?
Maybe they see themselves in there. Maybe they just get a good chuckle that, they're smarter than somebody else. But I mean, I ran that for about 4 years, and then I was tired of it. So I replaced that feature with a recipe or something in the newsletter.
Yeah.
We got more angry phone calls saying, where's the stupid criminal stories? I'm like, oh, well, that man told me a couple of things. One, people actually read the newsletter, which is good. And two, well, they like to be entertained. They don't like to cook. So back team those guys. The other thing your newsletter is designed to do is continue the emotional connection you've created with your customer. And I'm not talking, hugs and kisses and cuddling and all that stuff. I'm talking they made a purchase from you, right? They feel good about the purchase. You're happy because you got their money and you're delivering your product or your service. There's that little high, those dopamine hits when we make a purchase. We need to continue that. So one of the things that I do is I shamelessly use my children in my marketing. I have no problem with it whatsoever. And back when my daughter was younger, she's 18 now, so she's not as cute as she used to be. She's beautiful, but just not cute anymore. And she was in ballet. And every year at the recital, I'd take a picture of her in her little tutu, and I would put that picture in my newsletter. And I did that for years. And we were in the grocery store. I don't know, she must have been 10 or 11 years old. And this lady doesn't even come running up to me, comes running up to my daughter, says, "Oh my God, Emma, how was your recital?" And we're like, "What?"
Who are
We're ready
you?
to go hide in the frozen food section. Who's this nutty lady? And then I had to think. I said, wait, this has got to be one of my customers.
I'll
She
be
has
darned.
watched my children grow up for the last however many years. She is never leaving my company. She's either got to move or die before she'll stop using us.
She
And
feels
that's the
emotionally
power.
connected. Yeah.
That's the power, of not always just talking about your thing or your mattress sale or your new version of whatever. People like doing business with people. They want that human touch, especially with AI these days. Oh, this is a real person. This is a real guy.
Right. 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 That's good advice. It reminds me back when I was a kid that I'd, grab the newspaper, go straight to the comic section and read my 3 favorite ones.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I read. It was and same concept.
Yep.
No,
They don't have comics anymore in our papers.
no, that's gone.
Well, actually, Wall Street Journal has got one comic down on the op-ed page, and it's like a 3-inch by 3-inch thing. You really got to look for it. But anyway,
And then, for a newsletter edition, that'd be a nice little thing. Make yourself a little cartoon AI
yeah.
generated that was just consistent and a little
Yeah.
storyline. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Actually, a really good friend of mine, and not to get off on a complete tangent, another great guest for your podcast. A guy's name is Stu Heinecke, and he is a former New Yorker cartoonist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my God, he's brilliant. But he has a book out called How to Get a Meeting with Anybody. And he uses all of his different cartoons through strategies and tactics and campaigns to get a meeting with somebody. But you had brought up comics, and I always think of Stu when we think of cartoons.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, tell me a little bit about your client retention formula and kind of what led you to that. And what are some fun mistakes you've made along the way? Because I mean, the school of hard knocks of figuring out how do I keep these customers.
None of the mistakes were fun. I can guarantee you that. Okay.
Right.
But I mean, I came similar to you. I came from a corporate background. I spent 10 years with the Disney company, which was amazing. Great company to work for. I left. I'm living proof you can leave that company and not like curl up in the fetal position and, wither and die.
There you go.
So I consulted for some other, restaurant hospitality companies. Along the way, I realized I make a lousy employee. Don't like to be told what to do, which got me fired a couple of times. So I'm like, I'm just going to start my own thing. So I
There
did
you
what
go.
every small boy's dreams of doing, and I started a carpet cleaning business 20 years ago. And that was different. I had never vacuumed, let alone anything else, but I was looking for something that I could afford to invest in. I really wanted to do a restaurant, but I just didn't have 2 million liquid cash laying around to do that.
Right.
Fun thing, right? So I was like, okay, what can I do? And we have a lot of pockets of affluence around here. So, I looked at services that I could provide to affluent homeowners. So we always marketed ourselves as a premium service, which I think really served us because we started in 07. And if you think about 07 and 08, where everything was,
Tough time.
great time to start a business, right?
Right.
Well, actually, it was, because I was starting at zero. It's not like I bought something. I like started this thing at zero and went up. Well,
Yeah.
I started in '07. Everybody's crashing and burning and going down. Well, I got nowhere to go but up. And I'm like,
Right.
what are you all talking about? This is great. You know,
Yeah.
my sales are going up and you guys are going down. I must be doing something magical.
Yeah.
But I took all of my Disney strategies and tactics, I put them inside of a carpet cleaning business. And really, if I can Disneyfy a carpet cleaning business, there isn't one out there that I can't. So I, currently consult with professional service firms, accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, actually a couple of SaaS companies, but really focusing on delivering a great experience so that we do have the retention. And that was the long-winded story of here we go with the client retention formula.
Yeah.
But it's, I'll give it to you quickly. It's QEE plus QCE plus QBP times DRM equals CR. So what the hell does all that mean, right? So at the beginning, you've got QEE, which is a quality employee experience. If your employees aren't having a good experience, there is no way in hell they are going to deliver one to your customers. So it's intentionally first because you got to start there. And if you
Makes
don't
sense.
have employees, the same thing applies to vendors, right? Are you treating your vendors well? Nobody likes to be stomped on. Ask me how I know. Second part is QCE, which is a quality customer experience. So this is where you have all of your little wow moments and experiential things and, how great it is to do business with you, all of the things that differentiate you from all of the other people out there. It's really all of the fun stuff and the delivery of your service or product. Then you've got QBP, which are quality business practices, right? So if you don't have solid SOPs, OJTs in place, you're just kind of flapping in the breeze. Do you have solid marketing system, operational system, client retention system, et cetera, et cetera? Those all have to be locked in. DRM, so if you take those three things, multiply it by DRM, is direct response marketing. And direct response marketing is what all small businesses should be doing. It is the complete opposite of Goodyear blimp advertising. So if you think of the Goodyear blimp, right, they fly the thing over top of a football stadium
Yeah.
every Sunday, and that's it, right? And how many people go home and buy a set of tires the next day?
Yeah.
I challenge anybody to call Goodyear on Monday morning and say, hey, how many tires did that blimp sell? They got no idea.
No. No.
How many millions of dollars does it cost to fly a blimp? That's a lot. Well, as a small business, we can't afford to just slap our name, on a billboard, on a blimp or whatever, and expect people to call us. So we have to do a version of marketing called direct response, where we expect an immediate response from the ad or the promotion that we put out there, whether that response is coming in and making a purchase or requesting information, the thing with lead magnets and things like that. And then you build your database and you can remarket to them. You got to have all four of those things in order to have client retention.
That's right. Well, tell me, with client retention, with your experience, I've had issues where the bigger the customer, it's harder to land, but the stickier it can be. What are some strategies that you use when you try to sell to your client, whether it be small, medium, and large? Because there's a little bit of a difference in your
Right.
approach. So could you share what's worked
Yeah.
for you in those different areas?
At the end of the day, you're doing business with a person. So whether it's a purchasing manager or a VP of procurement or something like that, there's still a human making the decision at the end of the day. So you've got to create a relationship or an emotional connection with whoever the decision maker, whether it's a small business or a big corporation. And they like to be treated as humans as well. One of the things I do, I have a complete sequence on how to get a meeting, similar to Stu, but how to get a meeting with pretty much anybody. My first outreach, is, people always say, I'd love to have a virtual coffee with you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's virtual coffee? What is that? I like to have real coffee. So I created a mailer where it's a nice postcard, goes in this gold bubble envelope, and I literally mail them the cup of coffee. So one of my clients is a coffee roaster, and he sells these little pouches. They look like tea bags, but they're
Oh
coffee.
yeah.
And so, they get the coffee, they get the postcard, it goes in the gold bubble mailer. Thing stands out. You can't miss it. And so you're starting off by delivering value, right? You're not selling them on your widget or whatever. You're delivering, hey, especially if they're across the country and you're not going to meet them face to face. I'd love to have a cup of coffee with you. And here's the coffee,
Yeah.
don't give them a $5 Starbucks card because they'll forget who gave it to them. And
But if they actually get the pouch of the coffee,
they get the actual coffee. Certainly, newsletters. The newsletter that I send not only is customer retention, but it's also customer acquisition. So, you send that a few times to somebody with consistency, once a month. They get used to seeing you, and they say, "Oh, this guy's reliable." Because I have consistently gotten this newsletter on the 10th of every month. He's not always trying to sell me something. The newsletter's delivering value. And that's the key thing is you got to deliver value
in some way
before you can ask for anything, especially the sale. If you're selling rubber balls, okay, fine. It's simple. Yeah. But if you're selling a SaaS product or you've got a coaching program or, it's a really expensive, premium product, that's got some commas in it. Well, you probably want to deliver a little value before you ask for the sale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Wow. Well, those are some great tips. How about with the big customer? You talked about find out who that person is inside. And yep. One thing I've learned is sometimes you get comfortable with a client you've had forever. They're using your product, they're paying you for it, and unbeknownst to you, they've had turnover internally, and you don't know that your main contact isn't there anymore. And then all of a sudden, you got to figure out what to do. So something I've learned is it's important to have more than just one contact. As the larger the customer, you got to be plugged in even better than your simple person.
It's not, and I know I keep harping on the newsletter, but it's vital. And you could take away all of my marketing that I do, leave me with the newsletter, and I'll be happy. Seriously, that's how powerful the thing is. And so similar to what you're saying is I include usually the CEO of the company on the newsletter. Cool. Now, I may never talk to him. He may never meet me. He may never even get the newsletter. It probably doesn't make it past his secretary. But still, there is, again, to what you're saying, somebody else in the organization knows about me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you print and digital or just one?
Primarily print. You can do digital, but I wouldn't do digital unless you're doing print. It's just too easy to delete. People don't write well. At least with a newsletter, you can get away with not writing great. But in an email, you can't. They read the first line. If they're bored, it's delete.
It's gone.
So you got to be, I strongly recommend print first. You want to supplement it with a digital or an email newsletter, that's fine.
Now, newsletter, what's the optimal size? You've had such success with that for existing customers. What's the optimal size or length? And what do you lead with not to lose their attention?
Well, the newsletter's got to be about them, and you got to think about your industry a little bit. So one of my clients is a real estate investor. He owns, 170 rental properties, and he's building some others. And the way he gets new properties is he has a newsletter. It's called the Landlord Minute. He sends it out once a month, and it is literally a goldenrod 8.5 by 11, folded in thirds, self-mailer.
Okay, it's short.
It's ugly, but it has information on there. He'll include what laws is the Virginia legislature thinking about that will impact, landlords. What's happening in the world of plumbing or electrical or insurance that is going to affect landlords. And he puts that all in the newsletter, and he's got a little blurb in there that says, hey, if you're ever thinking of selling your properties, give me a call. He's bought 16 unit apartment buildings just from that stinking newsletter. And
Wow.
it was just that simple. It's front and back, so it's not very long. But it was written to his target audience. He was delivering the value, and people got comfortable with him. It's like they knew him, right? Because
Right.
it's written in his voice. He writes like he talks, which is what all of us should be doing. Don't try to be corporate-y speak or sound like you're somebody who you're not. You really want to write how you talk, digest if it's complex information, give your take on it. My newsletter that I send to my home service clients is a 4-pager. And it's really just, a big 8.5 by 11 folded over and then folded over. So it turns into 4 pages, but it's really just one sheet of paper. And, for me, I'm writing to consumers. So they probably want a little bit more entertainment than they do anything else. That's the kind of stuff I put in that one. My business to business is more, okay, how can I deliver value? Hey, here's a strategy that worked for me to acquire new customers. Or, hey, here's, a new law that's coming down the pike. Or, hey, here's the big, beautiful bill and what it means to you. And, things like that. Things that a business person is. But you also have to have entertaining stuff in there too. Stupid criminals go everywhere. I'll tell you that right now.
That's funny. That's funny. So that'd be a good point, is put something in a newsletter that they want to go for, whether it's the comic or the stupid criminals. What is that a fun thing which will make them want to keep it? You mentioned about print versus digital. How many things do I just file into my junk folder because I don't have time to read them? But there's a couple newsletters that I need to eventually read that came in my mail that are sitting over on my other desk over here that I'm going to get to at some point. And for some reason, for me, I'll read those where I won't the ones that have been
I know it.
been blasting me in an email constantly.
And then, you switch it up, okay, maybe 1 month you send a postcard, and the postcard could literally be from your vacation, hey, I'm on vacation, but I'm still thinking of my clients. And there's a picture, you can make your own postcard or buy a ton of them at the beach when you're, sit there. What I like to do is I like to buy the postcards. I write them out, put stamps on them. I get all that done before I go on vacation. I just throw them in the suitcase. And when I get wherever I'm going, I drop them in the post office at my vacation spot.
From that vacation spot. Oh, there you go.
Yes, at least the postmark is right.
Right. That's great. That's great. Those are some good tips. I heard, I can't remember the number. There was a number that said it's, as far as keeping existing customers, finding ways to do that, it's like almost a 7-to-1 or 10-to-1 cost. Like you mentioned the numbers. It's significant. And so that's some great advice as we're all trying to grow our businesses and build our businesses while doing it. The key point, I think, is not to lose sight of the fact that who are the customers that got us to where we are at today, and keep loving and taking care of them.
Yep. And that's the worst thing is, you go to a nice menswear store, right? And I walk in and there's a lady holding the door open for me. She says, hi, welcome, blah, blah, blah. What can can I help you find something? I say shirt. She goes, okay, what kind? Dress or casual? And then she walks me over to the rack and I'm like, okay, my favorite color is blue. And she finds all the different shades of blue. And, this tie is going to go great with your shirt and the whole rigmarole. And I end up, I wanted to buy a shirt and I end up with a tie, some socks, the shirt, maybe a second shirt. And, we get to the cash register. She rings everything up. I ding my credit card. She hands me the bag. That's it. No, thank you. No walking me back to the door and holding the door while I'm leaving. I mean, I just gave you money. You would think that I would be more important to you because I gave you money than somebody who hasn't given you money yet and you're just hoping for it.
That's so true. You learned a lot, in the earlier part of your career with the whole Disney experience,
Yeah.
and a lot of times when I go to, a store or a shop and I see how people really struggle with basic customer, service. The one thing, whether you like Disney or don't like Disney, well, the one thing they do very well at is making sure people have a great experience.
Yeah.
What are some of those key things you learned while you were there, additional things that where you really put that customer first to make sure they have a great experience?
Well, the main overriding thing is you've got to have a mission for your company, and not your mission statement, because nobody knows what the hell that is. Even the person who wrote it doesn't know what it is. I mean, I'll go to offices and I'll ask Marge at the front desk, hey, what's your mission here? And she does this whole hen pecking thing, trying to look around me because it's on a poster behind me and she can't read it. You
Uh-huh.
know, so I'm not talking about that kind. I'm talking about what drives you. So Disney's mission is to create happiness. Any minimum wage employee can wrap their brain around that, right? Their job might be to sweep the street, but their mission is to make people happy. So
Yeah,
when the guy who is sweeping the streets sees the little 3-year-old girl and her ice cream cone goes blop on the ground because of the hot Florida sun, and I mean, before he does anything, he's grabbed a new ice cream cone and he swooped in there before the first tear rolls down her face,
right.
right? That's knowing that you need to create happiness and then you can do your job. So, I take that, my carpet cleaning business, our mission is to create healthy homes. We do it by cleaning, but all of my guys know that by cleaning, they're making this home healthier, getting rid of the allergens and the dust mites and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So having a mission is vital, and empowering them to be able to take care of guest problems. Because the worst thing you could ever say to a customer is, "Let me get my manager." Well, why can't you fix it? Why do I got to wait for the manager? Now
Yeah,
I'm just getting more annoyed. Annoyance and anger grows over time, right? So the longer you stretch out a problem, the more irritated the person's going to be, and probably the more you're going to have to shell out in compensation.
yeah,
Give your frontline employees the ability to solve 99% of guest issues. You're going to look like heroes, right? But if you got to find a manager, I mean, Disney gives away a lot of stuff. There really isn't a cost to them. Somebody came in and they also take care of problems that are not their problem, right? So, I mean, I was at the front desk one day and, this guy came in, he was rip roaring mad. He was angry. His flight was delayed. The luggage was lost. The Uber driver stunk. I mean, just this whole litany of things, none of which was Disney's problem, right? Disney didn't create any of this. But the cast member knew that if the guy didn't, one, calm down, or two, start having fun, he's going to have a miserable vacation. He's not going to come back. He's not going to tell anybody anything good about Disney because all the crap happened on the way there. So, she says something to the effect of like, hey, sounds like you really had a hard time. We wish your flight and luggage were better. Why don't I give you and your family 6 fast passes to your favorite rides when you go to the Magic Kingdom tomorrow? That way you don't have to wait in line. You skip all the lines for those 6 rides. And the guy was like, "What?
what? Yeah,
What?"
exactly.
And you could just see, I mean, the color returning to his face, the shoulders relaxed a little bit. And he was like, "I wasn't expecting that." Well, thank you. You're, totally different guy. What
Yeah,
did it cost Disney to give those 6 fast passes away?
nothing,
$0, nothing.
nothing. Yeah,
So, giving your employees that, empowerment. I mean, Ritz Carlton, every employee at Ritz Carlton has $2,000 discretionary spending to take care of a customer. 2
wow.
grand. No questions asked. Now, if you give somebody $2,000 because they didn't like the smell of the soap, okay, the boss is going to get a little angry about that. But, if somebody had a delayed check-in or, couldn't find, couldn't find something or whatever. And, the housekeeper said, "Oh, well, Mr. Smith, let me take care of that for you," and spent $200 or $300 helping the guy. Ritz is like, great. I mean, you know how much it costs to stay at a Ritz-Carlton? $700, $800. Shell out $200 to ensure that the guy's going to come back and spend more. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's real good tips. In life as business owners, if we can enable our customer support people and CSRs to really service that customer, and not have to go through a whole, like you say, litany of tests and roundabout. People want to just be taken care of and get it done with and get it over with. And that's one of the best ways to keep customers.
Yeah.
We actually, years ago, I had a guy call us up once, and one of our reps answered the phone. He said, "That's all I wanted, is make sure someone picked up the phone if I called," and then he bought the software. That was his only test.
Can you believe? I mean, so I coach and consult with a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses have relied now on AI. Earlier, it was an answering system to answer their phones.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, there is nothing more frustrating to having the list to listen to 7 options before I get the option to get a live person.
To talk to somebody.
Right? If you're going to have a bot answer your phone, option number 1 needs to be talk to a live person. I don't want to listen to all 7, for accounting, press 1, for sales, press 2. I don't want that, The businesses that have the competitive advantage today are answering their phones live with a human, right?
Yeah.
Not a bot, not AI, not a machine. And especially depending on what industry you're in. I mean, if somebody does a Google search and you're number 1 and they call you and all they have the opportunity to do is leave a message, well, they might leave one. But then they're calling the second option and then the third until they get who they're looking for.
They're looking for a person in most cases.
And they're not going to wait for you to have the time to call them back at your convenience. It drives me nuts. You call a small business, "I'll call you back at my earliest convenience." Well, it's not your convenience. It's the customer's convenience.
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Great tips. Great advice. Make sure your people are answering the phone. I think the final tidbits are what we just talked about. Be there for your customer, putting them first, and it will take less marketing budget to take care of the customers you already have, and pick up new ones along the way through some unique strategies. Love your newsletter ideas that you helped us with today. So, thank you so much for your time today, Vance. It was great chatting with you, and looking forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, LaMont.
All right. See ya. Thank you for tuning in to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. Head to fountainofvitality.com for more episodes, insights, and resources. Remember, your health is yours to own. Take charge, focus on what you can control, and keep exploring what works for you. Always be your best self, lift others, and trust the compass of wisdom. Until next time, stay vibrant and take care.